So who am I? My name's Shane. In past lives, I've done a lot in voice over IP and SIP and those sorts of things. I've been a director of engineering at Star2Star. That's been the last thing that I've done before now being at SignalWire. But I was an engineer with the FreeSwitch guys on ClueCon roughly about 9-10 years ago. And I kind of cut my teeth in the industry as a SIP engineer at Broadvox, which is like now been bought and bought and bought and bought, and I think exists with IntelliQuint. But currently I'm the senior escalation engineer at SignalWire. Tomorrow is my 1-year anniversary with the company, so it's been a really quick year. I am the team tier 3 team lead, which means that a lot of the support escalations and things before they get to engineering go through me. I help out with FreeSwitch support, and I am also the primary developer of Swish, which kind of came about as I was starting, and I'll get into that in a minute. Just kind of also, I'm a frequent community member of FreeSwitch. Been to many ClueCons before. You've probably seen me around. I think this is my 8th or 9th one, something like that. So what is Swish? The SignalWire Interactive Shell, it's a cross-platform Python-driven shell environment that allows you to do and communicate with the SignalWire APIs from the command line without having to write your own code or write your own curl commands or something like that. You can do things like manage users, manage assets, all the different kinds of things that you can usually hit the APIs and manage. Label bins, phone numbers, SIP endpoints, other things coming soon. You can do some cool things like generate calls, you can generate faxes, you can do text messaging. You can view your call logs, you can do calls, or you can see what calls you have in progress. And you can do a whole lot more. So why did we decide to make Swish? Or why did I decide to make Swish? Oh my God, Siri's yelling at me. So the reason that it came about was when I joined SignalWire after being at Star2Star for so long. Having worked with FreeSwitch, I kind of had that intrinsic knowledge, but I did not really know what was going on with the APIs. Like, I didn't know what you could do with them. I didn't know how to interact with them. So it was a learning curve. And I started to develop a work environment that I could use and create some script or do something. And then every time I wanted to create something new or change something, I could just blow it away and start from scratch. So it started as a Docker container with a bunch of scripts on it, and it would just install all the packages that I needed and come back up, and just a really repeatable process. So as I started doing more and more and started showing this to Brian, I said, like, my thinking is the next Shane can just come in and download this Docker instance, run it, and hit the ground running, and doesn't have to do all of this catch up, and they can kind of learn on the fly. So that was my mindset, was that it can be something that's repeatable and be something that the next person can use, and the next person, the next person. We could keep iterating and making it better. So I think I showed off something like this buy a phone number script that I had, and Brian was like, this is great. It would be really awesome if we had like an FSCLI kind of thing that we could tap into SignalWire and just allow new users or non-coding type users, non-advanced users, a way to be able to type in some commands that are repeatable, scriptable, whatever, and be able to manage their space that way. So that's kind of where the idea of it came from, and the direction that we went is we wanted to make a command line shell that would allow you to manage your SignalWire space. So where can you get it? You can get it on GitHub at github.com/SignalWire/swish. That'll give you the source code so that you can read it. You can do whatever you want. You can hack it up if you really want to. Just don't judge it too harshly. And you can also just pip install. It's a Python project. It's there for you to use. So how to install it? As I mentioned, pip3 install swish. I suggest using a virtual environment, and that way you can just don't have to worry about dependencies and breaking other things and getting into all that dependency hell that you can get in with Python. And yeah, there's two different ways you can run it. You can run it in interactive mode or non-interactive mode, and I'll kind of show what that is in a moment, but essentially that means that you can either pipe commands through Swish, or you can run it where you type Swish and it takes you into its own shell. So time for a demo, which is always the most scary part of these. All right, so I'm actually looking down to try to type this, so we'll see how well this actually works. So I'm going to start, as I mentioned, do a Python virtual environment. So I'm just going to create a quick virtual environment called Swish here. And then I'm going to swish bin activate. And now that I'm activated in there, I can just pip install swish and wait 2 or 3 seconds. Hopefully that's readable. I think the text size is okay. So now I mentioned 2 things, that you can run it in interactive mode or non-interactive mode. If I just go ahead and type swish, it's going to take me into the interactive mode. And actually, I messed up. So I guess it doesn't matter. I just wanted to switch the environment that it was in. So when you go to actually go into Swish, it's gonna, if you haven't set a certain environment variables, it's gonna ask you what is your SignalWire space, what's your project ID, what's your API token. And that way it can communicate with everything. I had already had it set and forgot to unset them, so that's what I said. I messed up, but that was really it. So much like any other shell, you can do same thing that you usually can anywhere else. You can clear, you can echo, you can set environment variables. You can do pretty much, the things that you would normally get with like a bash prompt. So now you can start to get into, like, if you double tap tab, it'll give you your commands that are available. Let's say I want to do phone number, and I'm not exactly sure what I need to do. You can just type help at any point, or again, type tab. You can do phone number. Can't see. So for the sake of this project, I started with a completely blank canvas. There's no numbers or anything associated with it so that I can kind of go ahead and go through and do some provisioning and stuff and run some of these commands. So phone number list being one of them shows that there's no phone numbers associated with this. So let's go ahead and buy a phone number. Begins with, I'll just use my home area of 330. And I can't really see the numbers from here, but I'll just choose one at random and say, yeah. All right, so it's going to tell me to go ahead and create some cool things. And then when I do phone number list again, now it tells me that I have a number. So, all right. So now what I can do is I'm actually going to bounce out of here real quick. And I'm going to show off some of the power of what I can do with SWSH. And I'm going to take this number and I'm going to add it to this provisioning CSV. Y. And using this CSV, I cannot see anything. Using this CSV, I'm going to use a provisioning script that I wrote, and I'll show that off real quick too. This is just a bash script that runs a bunch of different commands over SWSH, and then will essentially set up a user for me. So what it's going to do in the background is it's going to set up call routing to a SIP endpoint. It's going to create voicemail, and it's going to set all that up so that when I call into that number that I just bought, I'll be able to pick up my phone and should be able to just dial the number and have it connect to a SIP extension. There's one thing that I have to do that I already forgot. So if I do a SIP profile list, it's going to show me my SIP profile here. And for the sake of the demo, I wanted to change this to point to a ClueCon domain. So I can do SIP profile update domain identifier, and I'm going to set it to ClueCon. The domain identifier is that piece right in the middle there that's like a randomly generated string of numbers and letters. So I'm going to change that to ClueCon, and then if I relist it, you can see that it's been updated. So now I am going to quit, and I'm going to run the provisioning script with my user CSV, hit enter, and hopefully it's going to tell me that there's a success. I'm going to go bounce back into SWSH. And now if I do SIP endpoint list, I have my SIP endpoint. If I do LAML bin list, I have my LAML bins. And somebody's already dialing it. I don't know. Somebody dialed it and then got scared, but that's fine. But yeah, it started ringing. I don't know if you guys could hear it. again, I can't really see the number, so I have no idea what it actually is. Yeah. There. All right. Now it's getting bombed. All right, I'm going to create a bunch of crazy feedback here. All right, cool. All right, so hopefully, I mean, there was a lot of moving parts there, kind of just me saying like, oh, here's a bunch of code that I wrote, and if I run one command, then it does a bunch of stuff. But hopefully that kind of shows off the power of being able to do something that's repeatable and pretty simple by just like, I can now, if I wanted to, I could buy another number, I could add another user, I could rerun that script, have 2 users, and so on and so forth. So I can manage users very, very quickly by just doing the same thing over and over again. So as I mentioned, there's some other fun features within Swish. I can do things like I can send a call, which is always fun. So I can, let me do this phone number list again. And I'm going to send this to from equals that. And then I will do WAML ban list. And I need this. Okay, and then send call. URL is just going to be the LAML bin. It doesn't necessarily have to be anything. It's just going to help it to route. To number. This is dangerous by putting my actual mobile in here. And then the from number is going to be the number that I set to from. And I mistyped from. So call sent successfully. And ringing. Hello, hello, hello. So I should have two-way audio now and generated a call from the command line between 2 parties. All right, and hopefully this actually works. This is something that I didn't think was going to work until about an hour ago. So we'll see. One of the things that I wanted to do was show that you can send a fax through this as well. And I wasn't going to do it because it's fax, but then Abby mentioned fax before, and I got a huge ovation, and I was like, ah, damn, I'm going to have to do the fax. So I am going to show that you can do fax, send. Oh, sorry, I lied. I need to cat my notes first. And I'm going to fax, send media URL, that's one thing that this does not do is the environment variables that you set, as soon as you quit, it doesn't keep them. So that could be something that works a little bit better. And then it's going to go to this number. I think that's right. No. All right, so now it's sending a fax. Why did it fail to send? Well, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Okay, so there was a problem with the other PDF that I was trying to send. So anyway, I had a backup one, and you can see that it's currently in ascending status. It's showing me the duration, showing me live statuses, or a live status of how it's actually sending that fax. The bad part about this is that it completely kind of locks me out of doing anything else at the moment. I guess I get to stand here and say, are there any questions in the meantime while this fax is sending? Anybody? Yeah. What's that? Abby's going to bring a microphone.
Just confirm the repo address.
Yeah, it's github.com/SignalWire/Swish, SWISH.
Give me 404.
Weird. I think it's public. I'll check on that after. I won't do it now. But I thought it was public. It might not be. Fax is still going, so that's good that it hasn't actually dropped yet. But any other questions? And this fax is still going. I really want to see it complete before I get off the stage. Now it's just me in a war against the fax. Oh, and you can, I can spoil it, because I did this a little. You can go to faxtoy.net. And then eventually this will look something like this. But that was mine from from like an hour ago, and the one I was trying to do was one that was real nice, and it said like, "Hey, welcome to ClueCon2023. Hope everybody's having a great time." But no, you guys just get handsome Squidward instead. Delivered successfully, so the next one will be there, and then I can let's. Oh, if I do fax list, it'll show me that my records for all the faxes that I just tried to send, and whether or not they were successful or not, or whatever. Oh, I can do the same thing with calls too. I can get call and get the same logs as well. All right, so that's it for me. And Swish, again, if you guys have any questions, there's a little bit more time, but otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day here at Coder Games.